bestbookbits.com brings you the book summary of The ADHD Advantage. What you thought was a diagnosis may be your greatest strength by Dale Archer, MD. Why ADHD could be the key to your success. For decades, physicians delivered the diagnosis of ADHD to patients as bad news and warned them about a lifelong struggle of managing symptoms. But the ADHD Advantage explodes this outlook, showing that some of the most highly successful entrepreneurs, leaders, and entertainers have reached the pinnacle of success, not in spite of their ADHD, but because of it. Although the ADHD stereotype is someone who can't sit still, in reality, people with ADHD are endlessly curious, often adventurous, willing to take smart risks, and unusually resilient. They are creative, visionary, and entrepreneurial. Sharing the stories of highly successful people with ADHD, Dr. Archer offers a virtually important and inspiring new way to recognize ADHD traits in oneself or in one's loved ones, and then leverage them to great advantage without drugs. As someone who not only had ADHD himself, but also has never used medication to treat it, Dr. Archer understands the condition from a unique standpoint. Armed with new science and research, he hopes to generate public interest and even debate with new positive messages as he guides the millions of people with ADHD worldwide toward a whole new appreciation for their many strengths and full innate potential. Book summary: what's in it for me? Overcome your prejudice about ADHD. Since it was introduced as a diagnosis in 1994, over 6 million Americans have been diagnosed with attention deficit hyperactive disorder, or ADHD. During the last decade, diagnoses have skyrocketed. So what's really behind this trend? Are all these people truly sick? Although more and more people have ADHD, it's still stigmatized. Its most common symptoms are seen as obstacles to a normal life. As a result, vast quantities of drugs are prescribed every year. Though manufactured to ease the symptoms of ADHD, these drugs can sometimes have serious, even deadly side effects. It's high time we drop the stigma that surrounds ADHD. The list of successful people with ADHD is varied as it is long, showing that there really can be an ADHD advantage. In this book summary, you'll learn how ADHD helped our ancestors survive, why a tendency to forget can be an advantage, and why there is no Richard Branson without ADHD. Summary Part 1. ADHD is seen as a terrible affliction and is extremely overdiagnosed. ADHD is often considered a serious medical epidemic that's currently sweeping America. Being diagnosed with ADHD is viewed as a curse that can break up relationships and tear families apart. However, always not as it seems when it comes to the disorder. The reality is ADHD is massively overdiagnosed. There are, of course, clinical cases of ADHD that should be treated as such, but the number of misdiagnoses is shocking. Research has revealed that as many as 1.1 million children and young people in the United States have been diagnosed inappropriately. Why does this happen? Well, the reasons are fairly easy to pinpoint. For one, the criteria used in diagnosing ADHD are poorly formulated and based on the assumption that cases of ADHD are black and white. If an individual exhibits 5 out of 12 possible ADHD symptoms, they don't have ADHD, but just one additional point leads to a positive diagnosis. This leaves no room for fluctuating and diverse nature of the condition. ADHD occurs on a spectrum, and so should be diagnosed according to the continuous scale. On top of this, the list of symptoms itself is flawed. ADHD symptoms are based on subjective observations by parents and doctors. Evaluative statements such as is often easily distracted or often fails to pay close attention to details are based on how a child's behavior appears to the observer, which often makes diagnosis unclear and uncertain. Moreover, some symptoms don't belong on the list at all. Hyperactivity, typically associated with ADHD, is something exhibited by nearly every child, and most grow out of it. Finally, there are far too few ADHD specialists. There are only about 8,300 of them in the United States. Compare that with the number of family doctors, roughly 54,000, and you can see the problem. Because of this, family doctors often make diagnosis, and their lack of experience in the field makes a misdiagnosis all the more likely. Summary Part 2. Wrongly prescribed ADHD medication wreaks havoc on the lives of young people. The dangers of ADHD misdiagnosis becomes clear when we consider how many children are inappropriately prescribed medication. Between 1994 and 2010, this number grew to 800,000. How did this happen? Financial pressures from drug manufacturers is often one reason. Pro-drug medical research into ADHD is often funded by manufacturers, some of whom market their drugs directly to children. One manufacturer even subsidized comic books about the benefits of medication. And yet, these benefits are often outweighed by the dangers they pose. ADHD medication is addictive and all too easy to abuse. Consider the case of the 24-year-old medical student and class president Richard Fee. He got hooked on Adderall and persuaded his doctor to keep increasing his dosage despite his obvious addiction. Tragically, Fee hung himself 2 weeks after his last prescription ran out. And there are other dangerous psychological side effects too. The National Institute of Drug Abuse confirmed that, on average, children aged 7 to 10 grow 2 centimeters less and weigh 2 to 7 kilos less than kids not taking ADHD medications. Some argue that prescribing medication is the only option. Without it, children with ADHD are unable to focus in school and get the education they need. But this isn't quite true. Children with ADHD may learn differently, but with a little experimentation, we can help them thrive in the classroom. For example, ADHDers learn better in short bursts. Shorter school periods would help these students learn more effectively. If this isn't possible, teachers could assign them the role of project manager, allowing them to check in with and focus on groups of students at short intervals. It's also proven that ADHD kids learn much better after exercising. Physical activity calms their busy minds and allows them to focus. Beginning the school day with a 20-minute dance class or a team game could help enormously. Or teachers could let students with ADHD stand up in class while they work or walk around the room as they solve problems. Summary Part 3. Think about ADHD from a different perspective to see its advantages. A most critical step in managing ADHD more effectively is changing your perspective. Rather than seeing ADHD as disadvantage, look at its symptoms as advantages. In this way, difficulty focusing on one task can be seen instead as the ability to multitask. ADHD's minds are constantly shifting from one idea to the next, an ability that allows them to keep track of several tasks simultaneously. This is incredibly useful in both business and professional sports. More on this in the coming book summary. Similarly, the inability to pay sustained attention becomes lateral thinking. ADHD's brains are able to make surprisingly and creative connections that other brains are incapable of, jumping from idea to idea and responding to changes in environments in new and innovative ways can come in handy in many creative fields such as photography or improv. Inattention to detail for those with ADHD transforms into able to thrive in chaos, while the majority of people tend to want a break when there's too much going on. Chaos is an ADHD's wheelhouse. Their brains can process information and make key decisions at incredible speed, making them suited to high-pressure jobs such as professional chef. Finally, forgetfulness is another symptom that has its advantages when seen as a kind of resilience. Rather than dwelling on past mistakes, ADHDs are able to move forward with ease, remaining motivated and energized for challenges ahead. This makes them resilient and well-suited to entrepreneurship and other pursuits where failure is an inevitable hurdle on the road to success. Summary Part 4. Many people have become very successful precisely because of their ADHD. It's plain to see that ADHD has its advantages, but how much of an advantage does this really give ADHDers in the real world? Let's explore some case studies where ADHD has helped individuals to live up to their ambitions. In the previous book summary, we learned that ADHDers are resilient, creative multitaskers. They often act intuitively without spending too much time worrying about consequences. This can prove extremely useful in the world of business, where uncertain situations and momentary opportunities call for snap decisions. In his business endeavors, entrepreneur Sir Richard Branson has made the most of his ADHD traits. His multitasking and fearless, inventive decision-making allowed Branson to avoid failure and continually move forward, thus capitalizing on a huge range of business opportunities. From air travel to entertainment to media, Branson has done it all and continues to manage his projects with ease. ADHD also has its benefits for athletics. Michael Phelps, Terry Bradshaw, and Peter Rose are all successful athletes with an ADHD diagnosis. As ADHDers, their qualities allow them to flourish and thrive in competitive environments. How? Well, imagine you're an NFL quarterback. It's your job to assess your team's distance to the next down. Consider the score, the time left on the clock, and which team members need a pep talk from you. It's no surprise that ADHD multitasking abilities are a huge advantage here. And when it comes to acting quickly, confidently and faultlessly in front of hundreds of screaming fans and even more viewers in front of the TV. The ADHD ability to be calm under pressure is another plus. If you find the right environment, your ADHD brain can help you thrive. Indeed, ADHDs have strengths that others don't, so get out there and make the most of the advantage. In review, the ADHD Advantage book summary. The key message in this book: ADHD is not a mental health epidemic, nor is it a reason to overprescribe drugs to children. Physicians, parents, and teachers alike can all strive for a more conscientious approach to diagnosis, as well as a broader recognition of the needs and strengths of people with ADHD. Actionable advice: help your ADHD child at home. Maybe your child has ADHD and struggles with homework. Rather than getting frustrated, why not treat this as a creative challenge for you both? Experiment with unconventional methods to help them stay engaged while making the most of their multitasking ability. Try letting them work with the TV on or with music playing, or break homework into 15-minute chunks. Keep trying new things and you'll soon find a unique approach that suits your child. Adult ADHDs can apply these tactics to their own lives too. Now that's a wrap on the book summary of the ADHD Advantage, but before you go, if you want this summary in PDF format, hit the link below and it'll be sent to you via email. Now, to support Best Book Bits, we've done over 600 video, written, and audio format book summaries. Check us out on YouTube, subscribe, ring the notification bell, like, share, and comment on what you think. If you want to support Best Book Bits, you can purchase our book, Success in 50 Steps, the proven formula that works. I've taken over 500 books and condensed them down into one massive personal development book. Get your copy now by hitting the link below, Success in 50 Steps. Also, if you want to achieve your dreams and goals faster than you can by yourself, you can hire me for coaching and mentoring, where we'll work on your goals and dreams together and achieve them both. Also, I've done a book summary called 150 Best Book Bit Summaries, over 5 volumes, 2,500 pages, 50 hours of video and 50 hours of audio content. You can click the link to purchase that as well. And if you're serious about having your best year ever, I've done a course called 28 Steps to Making Your Best Year Ever. So click the link below to check it out. Follow us at bestbookbits.com, the home of the world's largest free book summary website in video, written, and audio format. You can also follow us on Instagram, and if you want me to do a book summary, DM me there and I'll add it to the list. Check us out on Spotify, Best Book Bits, where we upload all our summaries first on Spotify and YouTube second. So follow us on Spotify. Also, we run a free book club on Facebook, so check us out at Best Book Bits. And if you want to be updated with the latest book summaries via email and never miss one, pop your email in the link below and we'll send you a weekly email with the latest book summaries uploaded. You can also sponsor us on Patreon. Check out our top 50 videos on YouTube. Thanks for watching and listening. Hope you got something from this. The ADHD Advantage by Dr. Dale Archer. Take care. Bye-bye now.